This is so exciting. So this is my first official YouTube video with video and not just yapping in the dark with no video. Because it's cool and all, but I wanted to make face, you know? So I'm here in my apartment and of course I had things to say and now I'm like, what was I talking about? So pretty much the point of these yap sessions is what I've been calling it, is after a long day of work, I come home and I'm usually by myself until I go to sleep, and then my boyfriend comes home later in the evening, like at night, because he doesn't get off work until late. And so I'm always trying to find things to do to keep myself preoccupied. I always work out when I get out of work. I go and make sure that I prioritize movement because that's a really big thing to me. And I always find myself like sending Snapchat videos to my friends, talking about random stuff that's on my mind. And nobody's ever suggested that I do a podcast because, I don't know, maybe nobody wants to hear me yap. But it's always been something on my mind for the last couple of years. It's been ever since I've seen podcasts become popular and successful on YouTube and Spotify and Apple Music and Apple Podcasts, and all of those things. It just became more of a reality, and I'm like, I could do this and all I'd have to do is sit here and upload a video of me chatting, right? So here I am. Let's see. In my last video, I talked about the things that I'm interested in, which is wellness and fitness and things like that. And I put a little description in the video, kind of having more of an emphasis on that. And I guess a good thing to do for the first video would be to kind of introduce myself to the world and who I am as a person, kind of, which is up for interpretation to the rest of the world, obviously, but I have my own definition of myself in my brain, right? So I am going to be 25 in 2 months. I'm kind of 3 months. In March. I'm a Pisces. I am a super emotional person. I feel everything really strongly, whether it's happiness, whether it's fear, whether it's anxiety, whether it's depression. I've gone through a lot of things in my life, and I've experienced a lot of different versions of myself because I'm very self-aware. I'm a very self-aware person, and sometimes that feels like it can be counterproductive when you're so self-aware that it becomes frightening, but it's a good thing, promise. I've had people tell me that I should become a therapist because of how much I know about mental health, and I can't sit here and call myself a therapist because I definitely don't have a degree. But also, I don't want to talk about other people's problems or help other people in that way because I am too much of an empath in the way that I feel things so much. I do not want to risk taking in that person's life and problems and making it my problem, because at the end of the workday, I wouldn't just go home and do what I need to do for the rest of my day personally. I would carry it through me with the rest of my life. So I cannot be a therapist. Even if I wanted to, it's just not realistic. So instead, this year, I've opted for podcasting to see how that goes. So yeah, I'm going to be 25. I'm 24 right now, but honestly, I feel 25 already because it's my 25th year has begun. Also, I just learned, because I love to learn. That's another thing about me. I've just learned recently that the spring equinox is the mark of the actual new year, and that January 1st being New Year is a capitalist rendition of the calendar New Year. But if you're following the moon and the planets and the earth and the way that it all moves in science, it is not January 1st. It is sometime in March. I don't have it specifically on my brain, but that makes my birthday feel even more special because I know I'm a spring baby, but like it just feels like it makes so much sense because I've always been the kind of person that reflects so much around the time of my birthday. And again, tuning into the things that I feel so much is I self-reflect so much. I notice patterns, self-awareness. So it just turns into so much for me. And so the whole New Year thing that I've just discovered makes so much sense. And like, it's really cool. So if you like things like that, you definitely should stick around and listen, because the more I learn about these things, the more I want to chit chat about it. So here we are. Let's see. 25, Pisces. I also have ADHD and undiagnosed autism. So I am in the midst of learning about what it means to be a woman with ADHD and autism, because apparently most women can be diagnosed like with ADHD because it's so common, but a lot of ADHD, I don't want to call them symptoms because it's kind of like, what's the word for that? Great. That's another ADHD thing is forgetting words when they're on the tip of my tongue. It also could be because there's so many things going on in my brain. That's probably the ADHD. Anyways, my therapist would just break this down for me and explain it to me in a great way that I cannot reiterate. See, this is the problem about podcasting, is now I'm going off track and my brain's like, what are you talking about? I was talking about ADHD and autism in women. So they can be disguised and interlaced together. And it is not taught because the female anatomy and female body and female brain is all very understudied because the world doesn't care about women, as I'm sure a lot of us know that by now. But it's becoming a trend right now on like Instagram and TikTok, which I've deleted that because I can go on a tangent about how toxic TikTok is for people who get overstimulated really easily, like someone with autism, and how addicting it is and how really terrible it is for your brain processing and the explosive amount of dopamine that you experience. So yeah, it's listening to me chat is going to be like going off on 7 different tangents at once, but then we'll get there at some point. You know what I mean? There'll be a point to the end of this, but when, I may not be able to explain that to you at the moment. So yeah. Another new thing about me is I recently just moved to Oregon. I grew up in California, but I grew up in NorCal. So it's funny because I've seen a video recently of someone explaining, in their opinion, like with pictures and stuff, a map of California in the way that people see it and not just like the way it's labeled with like the towns and stuff. And they pretty much labeled like NorCal, which is essentially San Francisco, like up to Oregon. And I grew up in Petaluma, which is a town in Sonoma County, which is on the coast, essentially. Like the beach is pretty much like maybe an hour away, so it's pretty close. I would say it's not as near inland as a lot of places in NorCal, but I grew up in NorCal. I am not, like, I'm very much a beachy person, but I like cold beaches. Like, I just, there's something about the fresh air and the scientifically proven calming aspect that the ocean provides. And of course I love a sunny beach, but me and the sun have not always spent a lot of time together, because if you grow up on the coast, you understand the NorCal coast, or the PNW, which I'm now in, but that's what people joke about NorCal being, is a part of that, even though it's not. Or you can call it the Bay Area, but you know, there's a lot of different distinctions that come along with that, determining and based off of where you live in California. But yeah, I grew up in California. I had kind of a rough childhood. I have experienced split families like from the jump, and I think it's very common for people my age to have grown up with family that didn't really talk about like their feelings and stuff like that. And so once I had the opportunity and I was in a safe space and I was able to freely like talk about my feelings and stuff like that, I just jumped headfirst into it because, like I said before, I'm so self-aware now, but I didn't used to be that way. I used to be super closed off and didn't understand because trauma. And that's another thing that I really love to talk about because it's something I've experienced and it's something that I've overcome, and it's something that a lot of people experience, but I think it's becoming more talked about nowadays, but hasn't always been a thing. I would say that I graduated high school in 2018, and I would say around like halfway through my high school career, so like when I was like a sophomore in 2016, that is when I felt like mental health started being talked about a little bit, which is crazy because that's barely when I was just 16, and there was a lot of things going on in my life when I was just 16. Like my life has always been busy with chaos and busy with changes. Like I am somebody who is currently like battling and overcoming the feeling of constantly needing change, because once you experience life that way, you just adapt, right? And you want to just feel that way forever. But I'm currently doing better, and I'm not craving it as much as I used to, but there's definitely days where I feel like I need to change my entire environment. Like I need to change my entire apartment to feel a certain way, so for something new, because your brain gets bored and then you need like the dopamine of change again because it's something that you've experienced before, so your body kind of craves it in a way. Anyways, getting off tangent again, but yeah, grew up in NorCal. I recently moved to Oregon a year ago, like almost a year ago on the dot. Like I moved like in the first week of the year, and it's just, crawling into the second week. So yeah, it's been about a year. I had moved originally to work with my brother in his construction company, and you know how siblings go. Sometimes it doesn't always work out the way you think it's going to, but that's life. And I knew that was a possibility going into it. So at this point, I'm kind of like happy that it didn't work out, because so many other things in my Oregon life have like trumped whatever like feeling I went through when that ended. So I live with my boyfriend, and I work at this restaurant in downtown, which I'm not going to disclose because I do kind of want to practice keeping part of my life private. That was one of the biggest things that was scary to me when I thought of sharing my life with the internet, because I do have an Instagram account and I do post on it all the time, and I post reels like of trips that we'll go on, and like I like to be open with my health journey, and I like to showcase like the food that I make and stuff because I'm very into cooking. As I am working in a kitchen now, I've kind of worked off and on in kitchens the past like 10 years in different settings, as a hostess, as a waitress. I was kind of a prep cook earlier this year at a restaurant in Eugene, which I won't disclose because I do want to keep certain parts of my life private. And it's just when you are somebody with ADHD and autism and you feel like you keep getting things wrong, or you can't get something right enough to be comfortable and sit in that thing, it's often because of the change, right, that I spoke of earlier. And so I've done a lot of work with my therapist the last 4 months, something like that, figuring out what is the best combination for like that satisfaction, accomplishment feeling that I crave every single day, just like in my day to day. Like, what am I going to do? Because also I'm going to be 25. So it's like, are you thinking about a career? Like, everyone's always down your fucking throat about having a career when you're like 16 years old. So for the past 10 years, like, I've just kind of been like, I don't know, because I cannot pick one. And I still can't. I won't. Like, there's no way that I could settle on one thing, because I change my mind about things so often. And I'm trying to be nice here with the curse words, but sometimes they slip out. But I change my mind about things pretty damn often, because I can never be too sure. Like, I also am constantly changing as a person, so my preferences for things and my wants and desires are changing as I'm growing as a person, especially in this season of life. Turning 25 is a huge focal point, turning point. Like, in 5 years, I'm going to be 30. I think that's the first time that I just made that realization, because that's crazy. Because sometimes I do feel like my 15-year-old self, but therapy will make you connect yourself with your inner child, and it really just changes the way you view the world, and you view yourself, and you view people. And if you're doing it right, it can be a really good thing. Sometimes it can bite you in the ass, but so far so good. But yeah, I'm a very complex person, and I'm still figuring myself out, and I'm really excited for what this year is going to bring. Like, I also follow like spiritual accounts on Instagram, and there's one account called Moon Omens, and they post like current fixations on like what setting the moon is in, and like all the other planets, and like explains them. And so I can't sit here and reiterate that stuff to you, because I don't have it down to a science. Like, I've just barely opened the book, to be honest. Like, but I've been interested in this kind of thing for a couple of years, but it is vast. But yeah, I mean, speaking about religion, like, moving to a place like Oregon, where there's a lot more like Southern people, like if going from California, where there are so many people, there may be some people from the East Coast that have moved to the West Coast, but they are looking for that like SoCal life. It's not the same as the people in Oregon. Like, people in Oregon are much more like, you could probably find someone from Texas or Georgia, for example. My boyfriend is from Georgia. Like, it's a different atmosphere, and so religion is much more accepted in Oregon than it is in California. Like, a lot of people are like against religion in California, and that made it really hard for me to understand or even learn what I should think about God, or what I should think about anything, because I grew up atheist, and so I had no education about Jesus or God or any of those things, which is fine. But I also kind of wish that I had the opportunity to learn, so that I could like form my own opinion earlier on as a child. But of course, like, I would probably be a different person now if that was how I lived my life. So I don't know. But coming from California and being a very atheist, or just like independent in the middle, like I can't like make a decision kind of religion, is hard, because then you go to Oregon and there's a lot of people who believe in God, but it's also so genuine and pure, and it makes you think that a lot of people in California are just haters, because why wouldn't you want to follow the Lord? Like, it's just like, it just feels so natural, and it feels right. Also, sorry, my washing machine is going, because I'm an idiot and decided to turn it on right before I sat down, but that's not the point. But yeah, so I'm navigating so many things in my life right now, and that's why I think that I'm very into the idea of podcasting, because I don't have a lot of friends here in Oregon, and I honestly didn't really have that many friends in California, but I do have like one or two girlfriends that are like dear to my heart that I had in California. but not until the very end, right before I moved. Like, all of the people that I pretty much like grew up around, I don't talk to anymore. Like, there's a couple girls here and there, but I've always been kind of an outcast, and that's okay. I have realized that I'm more of a extroverted introvert, so unless I'm doing something that like I'm super into and the people around me are super into it, and it's in a specific way, like that's almost feels like it's the autism speaking, because it's like I'm so picky with people, but that's also in a way like I am very picky with people because energy is a huge thing, and I honestly, first and foremost, like, love God, but also like me and the universe, we're like this. Like, so spirituality like is my girl. We're best friends. But I also lean into like, could I be a Christian one day? Maybe, but also at the same time, like I need to educate myself. I need to read the Bible. Like there's a lot of things I need to come before I can just be like, I'm going to be Christian, you know? It's also such a huge thing. And people have a lot of opinions about it, so that's part of the reason why I'm like, I don't know if I want to dabble, because it's almost inviting in the way that so many people are kind of turned a blind eye to spirituality, because it just for so long has not been spiritually proved, or not spiritually proved, scientifically proved that it's real, but Jesus Christ. But yeah, it's almost more inviting because there's less people, so I almost feel like this is nice. Like I don't have to worry about people asking me about this, because I can believe whatever I want, and it's kind of like a quiet little area where like not people aren't always talking about it. Like there's people on the internet who will judge anything and everything. So I always take that with a grain of salt. But anyways, yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell. A couple other things is I'm super artistic. Like this is a painting of the moon with like some clouds around it, and it's technically not finished, but you can't see the whole thing. This is only the bottom half. And then above it, there's another painting. I love plants. You can't see from here, obviously, but I have plants all in my living room, on my dining table, on top of the cabinets. Like, if it wasn't winter here in Oregon right now, I mean, winter everywhere, kind of. Jesus Christ. If it wasn't winter, I would have more plants. But I'm kind of scared of killing them all because we just get significantly less light. Like, for example, it's literally like 6:30 right now, and it's been pitch black since 5 p.m. And at first that rocked me to my core, because in California, like it may get dark, but like I feel like dusk lasts a little bit longer. And in the PMW, it's like 7 to 5. That's it. That's all you get. But we're getting closer. Every day we're getting a little bit more light. It used to be 4:30 was pitch black, and now it's 5. So, you know, spring is coming. But yes, I'm very artistic. I love music. Music is one of the biggest things in my life. Music and food. Those are the two biggest things. I'm constantly listening to music. In the kitchen, we're always listening to music. Like, it's always around me, and it fuels the way that I feel every day. So I try my best to listen to music when I'm feeling like destimulated, so that I don't overstimulate myself. On a separate like episode or video, I can talk about my experience with like growing into autism, because it was not diagnosed as a child. Like I said, nothing in my life has been really like examined or like thoroughly talked about until my early 20s, which that's like a long time, I know. But yeah, that's my life. And so we're navigating it all. But yeah, I am really excited about this podcasting, and we're almost at 30 minutes, so I apologize for whoever actually decided to sit here and listen to me. I'm sorry that this video is so long, but I don't have any editing skills, and so I kind of wanted to do just one recording and then post it. So it would be fucking cool if people would follow me and listen to me talk about things. So we'll see where this goes. I'm probably going to vlog. I'm probably going to do all sorts of things, talk about my lifestyle. I can't wait to do more. So, good night, internet. Talk to you later.